Oh, sorry. Well, this is a blooper, people. This is a blooper. This is a blooper. Here we go. Here we go. Hello, everyone. This is Corine La Font, your favorite radio host, your only radio host, and favorite girl, of course, broadcasting to you from the lovely island of Trinidad and Tobago in the Caribbean on Between the Lines. And I have with me here today Nadege Minois. I'm very good at pronouncing the surname, but the first name, I'm working on it, people. I'm working on it. And the thing about it probably too is because my name is Lafont. That's my surname. So it's French. So it's easy for me to pronounce that. But the first name, I'm working on it. So if you hear me call her Minois, it's because that's the easiest thing for me to say. All right, so two French ladies in the house. And before we go on, let me just say that we're talking about communication in remote teams. This conversation is going to be very in-depth. It's not going to be the traditional type of conversation. And I'm going to be pushing Nadege. I'm going to be pushing Nadege a lot in this 30 minutes that we spend together. If you were here before we went live, you might have seen a little bit of a blooper, but that's going to be edited out. Things happen, I'm telling you, when you're going live. That's the thing when you're going live, bloopers happen. And I absolutely love it because that is exactly what happens in real life. Okay? Nothing is as perfect. So I might just leave it in, as a matter of fact, just to show what real life is about. So let me tell you a bit about Nadege Minois, and then we will go straight into the conversation. So Nadege Minois is a qualified Agile Project Manager as well as Program Manager. As a scientist, she spent 15 years managing research projects involving international teams. That's good. She then switched to IT project management. She has lived in 5 countries so far. So far, people. Combining her experience and knowledge, she now helps project managers, their teams and organizations improve their communication within projects. And I hope you have been following us. Nadege did a lovely 1 to 2 minute trailer teaser. So I hope you listen to that. I saw some comments on the page. So thank you so much for following and being a supporter of Between the Lines and Nadege. So Nadege, welcome officially to Between the Lines.
Thank you, Corinne. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm so glad to be here. I'm so glad I met you, and basically just struck that, yeah, okay, let's do
Yes.
something together. So that was really, really great. And I'm really looking forward for this conversation, definitely.
Yes, I listen. There's a thing that happens with me with the French people, the accent. If you see me swooning, and going into my, a sort of a, falling over type of action, forgive me. I have a weakness for the French language. I don't care if they're cursing me out, they could be telling me what, it just sounds so romantic. I just love the accent. So forgive me. And all the French people who are now laughing at me, yes, that's okay. You could say anything to me. I would be like, I so love you. I so love you. Oh my goodness. So Nadege, communication in remote teams. Now let me kind of set the context. When people hear this topic, they may more think about, okay, remote teams, they're located in different parts of the world, they're probably working on a project, or that's just the culture of the organization where they are placed in different parts of the world and have to work. And the obvious things when it comes to communication is, well, we're in different countries, we speak different languages, we may not be all English speakers, or we might not be all strong in English speaking. And then we have the time zone considerations, yeah? And we have the cultural way of saying things or communicating. And that would be the obvious challenges that persons may think about with communication in remote teams. But like I said before in the introduction, I want to go a little bit deeper. And we may touch on those other things, the time zones, the culture, and stuff like that. The thing about communication, so let me go back to basics of communication, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. Communication is about, just like me and you here, there's a sender and a receiver.
Yeah.
Now, there is a one-to-one right now in our relationship. Me, one person, you, one person. Sender, receiver. And there's a message. So I am sending something to you.
Yeah.
Now, that message doesn't have to be in text. It could be in video. It could be in any form. It could be a smoke signal. It could be in hieroglyphics, right? So we're going to be considering all those different ways in which that message can be communicated. So sender, receiver, and a message. The thing with remote teams, and remote has become a very popular thing, especially since the pandemic. But let me tell people, remote was always there before the pandemic. You probably just know about it because of the pandemic, but it was always there because, before the pandemic.
Yeah.
The thing with remote teams, if you're putting it in that context, is that there's not only a one-to-one, but there's a one-to-many communication. Okay? And it is not a one-to-many, it is a many-to-one and a many-to-many.
Yeah.
Am I making sense, Nadege? Yes?
Well, you make sense to me, yes.
Right? So we have, let's go back to the basics. There's a school here. There's a sender, receiver, and a message. And there's a one-to-one, there's a one-to-many, there's a many-to-one, and a many-to-many. And this is happening across various time zones. This is happening across culture. This is, going across language barriers. A lot of things are happening. But keeping in mind the objective of its one project, or sometimes even multiple projects, let's inject that there. Multiple projects happening across all those dynamics that we were just talking about, right? Or that I was just sharing to set the context. Multiple projects and communicating in a remote environment. Let me also put something in there. The organization that you're representing has a culture of its own. So besides your country culture that you grow up in, the organization which you represent has a culture of its own.
Yeah.
that requires you to send a message, whether hieroglyphic, smoke signal, text, image, video, whatever the means, in a particular way. They have their values, their standards, their professional way of doing things that they want you to communicate. Nadege,
Absolutely.
step in here now and give your perspective on the dynamics the context I'm setting here. And then we could go straight into how we can resolve or tips we can share
Mm-hmm.
with persons who
Mm-hmm.
are having challenges within all of this happening. Because I know there are people who will be listening to this, whether today, tomorrow, next year, whenever they get this, it will reach them at a time that is so important that they needed to hear the tips that we are sharing today because they are going through it. They are going through it. And some people are not even working remotely, but they have to deal with, let me throw in that as another spanner. They have to deal with, they're in the office physically, have to deal with people who are working remotely. So I've thrown a
Absolutely.
lot at you, Nadege. And here it is, we are going in depth. Take it away, Nadege.
Oh boy, yes. I'll try to remember. Yeah, to remember everything. Yeah, no, well, it's true. I totally agree that basically communication is between either one to one or one to many. But basically, a message is sent by someone and is received by someone else. That's true. And all these things that you were talking about, like culture, whether it's your country culture, it's your family culture, your organization culture, all that will play a part. The time zone will play a part in basically how you shape your message. Okay, so everything will play a part in how you shape your message, how you see the world will shape that.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a kind of encoding on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then with all these filters, and then it goes to the receiver, and then there's a decoding. And usually the problem in communication is that the filters that have been used to encode the message are not the same filters, or at least they will not be used in the same way to decode the message. So basically, because the culture will be different, the time zone will be different. So, it might be getting very late for someone and they're tired, so they might not understand exactly well as well that if they're really perky during the day. So basically, it means that many times the message you send is not the message that is received. That's
Mm-hmm.
that's for sure, and that is made even more difficult in remote teams because, as you say, with time zone, there will be some asynchronous communication in remote teams because not everybody will work at the same time, will be doing, you're not just in the same office going to your teammate, hey, can I have a question or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not always working like that. So it's even more difficult basically to ensure that the message is received the way it was intended to be received and to be understood. And so that's definitely one of the big problems, because with remote teams you increase the diversity not just of the people themselves but of all the environment,
Yeah.
and so yeah, so that's what makes remote teams difficult to, well, potentially more difficult
Mm-hmm.
to handle, and just the environment, and the
Yeah.
fact that people cannot be there. As you said, we think remote, international, different time zone, but it can just be in the same city but in different buildings.
That's right. That's
You
remote.
know,
That's
that's
remote.
remote. That's
That's remote
remote.
once you're not
And
physically there. Now,
absolutely.
here's the thing. I am here with you. You are seeing me. One of
Yes.
the key things that I left out of the dynamics of communication is that I can see your body language, or at least part of it.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see your facial expression, which
Yeah.
is critical in
Absolutely.
understanding exactly, you mentioned intended message, exactly the message. Now, you could say
Yeah.
something with your mouth, the words can come out your mouth, but your facial expression is saying something else.
Absolutely.
So that is really the intended message
Mm,
because it
mm, mm.
matches the words. Now,
Yeah.
when you're in remote, even though we may have Zoom meetings and stuff like that, because people have realized that to bridge the gap of communication in remote teams, the body language is critical.
Yes.
The body language is critical because without that, you're at a loss
Yeah.
as to what really the person is
Mm,
intended to say to you.
mm. Yeah.
And you are there on the other side, receiving the message, wondering what, trying to decipher. You watch the words. It comes just like if you use WhatsApp. You watch the
Yeah.
words, people text you, and you're like,
Mm.
what? Where's this going? You know,
Absolutely.
where is it going?
Absolutely.
And you're lost, and
Absolutely.
then you start to get upset. So you move from very happy in the day, you drink your coffee, you wake up nice, you're alive, above ground, and all of a sudden you get this text. You're like, where the hell did this thing come from?
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
what does he or she mean? Why is she speaking to me like that at this hour of the morning? Just woke up. You're like, no, this is crazy. But, and it's not all the time you're going to be able to have a face to face, a virtual face to face with
Mm.
somebody. So my thing is, without having that face to face body language being present to you at all times or most
Mm.
times,
Mm.
you're wondering how to communicate in a remote environment
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
to kind of lessen, to dissipate, to
Mm.
filter
Mm.
that communication. What are some tips we can share with persons
Well, I
who
know that
remote teams? Yeah.
some people to try and keep that kind of face-to-face synchronous, I'm here with you even if I'm not really. Some people recommend actually that when you're at your desk, when when you're working, you actually have something like Zoom or whatever other type logged in, and
Hmm.
you're there.
Yeah.
So you're there, you're working, but you're there, you're on camera. You have a microphone so you can hear people or you can ask. So that would be the kind of closest to replicating a real environment. And
Yeah.
some people recommend that, which is okay, obviously, when you overlap.
Hmm.
And so it kind of recreate being in an office.
Hmm.
So some people recommend that, and for some teams it it might well work.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's definitely something that you can try as a team. Of
Yeah.
course, you cannot do that with if you have not very regular contact with people. Like when I was managing, especially a research project before switching to IT, and I had international colleagues because usually research,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
collaborate. Basically, you
Hmm.
collaborate with people in different universities in different countries
Hmm.
and things like that. But you're not always in contact with them.
Hmm.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's not the same. But when it's really your close team, you want to be as much in contact as possible.
Hmm.
And so having something like Zoom or whatever platform your organization is using, you're logged in. When you're working, you're logged in there and you are available. Okay, and people can see that you're available and you're there. Or at the very least, have things like an online chat,
Hmm.
like you
Hmm.
can have chat in Teams or something like that. So try to have people as available as possible in a way. That's
Here's a couple of things or something that come to mind that I do because I've been working remotely for a number of years.
mm,
And well, to me, but this is my standard way of operating, my SOP, if you want to call it.
mhm,
in terms of communication, I'm always seeking clarification.
Yeah.
I'm always. Now, when I seek clarification, I will ask questions upon questions upon questions because, and this happens in all my forms of communication, whether I'm face to face, whether I'm virtual, whether I'm in a WhatsApp, I am always asking follow up questions in order to understand exactly what you are saying. If you say something to me that I may interpret or feel, I'm not so sure if I'm getting this right, I would say,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Could you elaborate? The words I use, please clarify, please
Mm,
elaborate,
mm,
you know. And
mm.
here's what I get from certain individuals. They're annoyed. They don't want to answer the question.
Yeah.
They're like, the sender of the message is annoyed that I'm asking clarifying questions
Mm,
to get
mm.
to the point of really what it is you're
Yeah.
asking or saying so that we can be on the same
Mm,
page.
mm.
They're
Yeah.
annoyed.
Yeah.
And when I look at that, I'm like, but we are supposed to be working towards one thing. Why are you? I am on the side now receiving the message, saying to myself, why are you getting annoyed? And I have come to the conclusion, and this is all part of human interaction. It's not even a matter of
Mm.
remote. This is
Yeah, that's right.
human
That's right.
interaction.
Yeah.
It comes
Yeah.
down to the point of there are people who are insecure. There are
Mm.
lots of insecure people
Yeah.
who are offended when you ask them questions and instead project their insecurities on you to make you feel as if you're dumb. Why can't you understand the
Mm.
confused message that I'm sending? Why can't you have a chaotic mind
Mm.
like
Mm.
me
Mm.
and understand the confused message? That is that is what it is to me.
Mm. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so you feel as a person receiving the message now, you start to withdraw. And I know people are going through this. This is why I'm talking about it. And you feel hesitant to even ask another question because
Yeah.
you're like, if I ask Nadege that question,
Yeah.
she's going to
Yeah.
snap at me. She's
Yeah.
going to. So let me try and figure out. And in a work environment, that's a dangerous thing.
It is.
It's a dangerous thing because
It
you
is.
are there working as part of a team or even answering to that person and you are, let's call it fearful, hesitant,
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
to even ask a question in the
Mm.
interest of the project. Nadege says something about that.
Mm. Well, questions have a bad reputation.
They do,
Okay,
but
apart,
I am
how
now
are you
finding that
doing?
out. I am now finding that out. I did not know that.
Well, usually because, think of a lot of situations where people have to answer questions. Okay, so you can feel like you're under interrogation. So that's why usually in front of a question, especially if it's a question that can imply that you put into question, if I can say, no pun intended. So if you put into question what the person just says, usually the first reaction will be defensive. Yes, that's
Why? Why?
because as you say, it's probably a kind of insecurity that
But that's not
people
my
don't like.
problem.
The people don't like to answer questions.
But
Because
that's
when we
not
were
my
kids, yeah, I know,
no. But you
and
cannot be in a leadership position, Nadege. You cannot be in a senior position and not get questions. That speaks to you as a person and to your
yeah,
leadership.
absolutely, absolutely. That's right. But still, a lot of people. I guess it probably comes to the fact that you're scared not to have the answer, and a lot of people just are scared to say, "I don't
I don't
know."
know.
Yeah,
Three main
absolutely.
words. I don't know.
Absolutely. And a lot
That's
of
all.
people, yeah, and a lot of so basically a lot of people they just don't like question. And something like that
Don't know
is
is such a powerful thing to say. Let's practice it, Nadege. I
Yeah.
don't know.
I
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. You know what? I don't have a
I
clue.
don't know.
I don't know. No,
I
that yeah,
don't know.
that's right.
What
That's
is so
right.
difficult?
Because culturally, not knowing, especially when you're, you were talking about leadership and senior position, especially when you're in a position like that,
Mhm.
culturally, it has been seen as a weakness. At, well, after all, you're the leader, you're the boss, you've got to know. And culturally, it has been seen as a weakness, and especially for men, and so a lot of people still have problem to say I don't know, because they feel that they should know, and it's a weakness not knowing. So that's why. So, and I would say
But
here a
Nadege,
kind of other
that's their
tip.
problem.
Hmm,
Nadege, that is an easy solution. There's an easy solution to that. Let me get back to you.
of course, yes, of course,
That's
you can
all.
say let me get
If
back to
you,
you. Yes,
yeah, if
of
you
course.
feel scared or you feel insecure about saying I don't know,
Mm-hmm,
let me
mm-hmm.
get back to you, and you take the time to
Absolutely.
find out and get back to the. It's a simple solution.
Yes,
But
it
you
is.
are more respected as a leader, as a senior person, if you say I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, that's strange. I don't know who put the thought or in your mind
Mm-hmm,
that
mm-hmm,
you have to know everything.
mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
I don't.
Absolutely.
Nadisha, you don't.
No, of course. Of course. We don't know everything. We can't know everything,
Even in the industry that we are in, you're in project
Even
management, so am I, we're in communications, and we don't know
absolutely.
everything. If we knew
Ab-
everything, we
yeah,
wouldn't be here.
absolutely. Absolutely. That's right. But it's still very, very difficult for some people. And plus this idea of, when you were a kid, a lot of the time, questions means exams and tests and difficult situations. So all of that. But something to help with that is that when you have a team, and especially important when you have a remote team,
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
basically to set ground rules and with the team. Okay, it's not something that
Yeah.
the boss he said that's how we're going to work, that because
Mhm.
there's not going to be any buy-in.
Yeah.
But you set ground rules and behavior, and you tell people, like for instance, you like clarifying, and yes,
Mhm.
that's a very good thing.
Mhm.
So you tell people, well, no, I hope you won't mind, but I need to clarify. I'm not sure that I've understood, so I'm going to ask you for some more
Yeah.
questions to elaborate. So to basically to let people know, and when you have a team, to set some rules on, how are we going to work. Well, if I
Yeah.
do that, this is what it means. Don't
Yeah.
take it personally, or whatever. And
Now,
so
DJ, I'm going to counter what you say there. You see the rules thing? I am not about it. Listen, we are all human beings. We are individual people. We have our
yeah,
likes, dislikes. We have our own personalities.
yes,
And rules to certain people, and I'm not against rules or boundaries. I prefer
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
boundaries. I think the better thing is to take the time to understand
yeah,
yourself and understand other people.
yes,
When
yes,
you set rules, it restricts and boxes people in, and they don't
mm,
feel. Think of an
mm,
intro, what you call it now, introverted person
mm,
who is already in a box. And then you're boxing them even further. The
mm,
little that they
mm,
may want
mm,
to come
mm,
out,
mm, mm,
and you
mm,
set rules.
mm,
No, you have different personalities of people in a remote
mm,
environment.
mm. Yeah,
And
but
my
that,
thing is hang back and just allow. You cannot stop a river from flowing. It is going to
no, that's
flow.
right. No, that's right. That's right. No, that's right. And when I say set rules, it's not, it's not to restrain people,
Mm,
but it's more about these boundaries,
mhm,
about what is unacceptable. Because at the
mhm.
same time, you cannot accept some things from
Yeah.
other team members,
Okay, got
because
you.
if not, that will that will go against the team, and the team will not perform. So, and that's why all this has to be set up with the team, that
Mhm.
everybody can bring how they see
Uh-huh.
things and their own point of view. And then you find, okay, given how different our points of view are, what can we agree on, basically, as a way for the whole team to work? And then that way
That's
of
right.
working, if I can say, that's what I would call rules then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
I
can always change. If you see
yeah.
that it doesn't work, you can always change.
I see it. I wouldn't say rules. Based on your
Yeah. Mm.
explanation, and I'm with you there, it's called support. So if I'm leading a team and we are communicating, I said, hey, feel free to ask any questions. Remember, we are here to support each other. We
Mhm.
have one objective in mind, to get through this particular thing. Take nothing personally. Just be respectful about the way you ask the question. Make sure that those, if you want to call that rules, yeah. But you said guidelines in terms of
Yeah.
what you're not tolerating. So, like when you go on YouTube, for instance, and you're watching something, they will have guidelines. Please be respectful of everybody here. Don't tell them this. Things like that. They're not going to, because you can be banned or
Mm.
removed or something. So
Yeah.
just be respectful of people,
Yeah.
because why? We are
Mm.
diverse and
Mm.
we're coming from different backgrounds. Just be
Yeah.
mindful, be aware of how
Mm.
and what you say. And
Yeah.
even if somebody says something that to me I may receive as offensive, I need to realize it's not about me. Everything
Mm.
Nadege says is not an attack on Corine. So we have to work on our own selves,
Yeah.
Nadege,
Yeah.
especially when working in a remote environment,
Yes.
because I
Yeah.
can't be walking on eggshells every time somebody says something and think, oh,
Mm.
it's about me. It's about me. That is
Mm.
egotistic.
Mm.
That is
Yeah.
self-aggrandizement. That is narcissistic, that you think everything somebody say is about you.
Mm.
Please, nobody is looking at you. Nobody, no, nobody has you on their mind all day, every day. No,
That's
no,
right.
no. Okay, so get with the program. So I think those type of quote unquote rules, if you want to call it, or guidelines, which is what I prefer to say in
Mhm.
terms of conversation and communication, in order to allow for an abundance and a flow of clear communication that can lead to achieving the intended purpose of the project, because that
Yeah.
is the goal in mind. I think that is a better thing to say. Now that I know we have gone a bit over time, and
Gosh,
this
already. Wow.
this is something we could talk about ad nauseum. This is fabulous, and I know people are challenged by a number of things in working remotely, and even if they are not one of those working remotely,
Yeah.
but they may be in an office, going to the physical, infrastructure every day, the building every day. They are still to some extent remotely because they are away from the team, and so there are always dynamics. Any
Absolutely.
final points you want to share with persons to help them navigate this sort of remote life, remote work? You're thinking.
It's yes, yeah. Well, I'm trying to think what would be the definite best, and I'm not so sure. It's involve people,
Mhm.
involve definitely people.
Yeah, yeah,
It's very easy when you're remote not to think about an especially quiet team member, and then you realize you haven't had any news for a very well, yeah, a while, and things like that.
yeah,
And so basically, even if it's remote, even in people or in different places, involve them,
yeah.
and ask them how they want to be involved. also,
Yeah,
but
I like
basically
that.
keep involving people.
I like that
Mm.
because you can't be, I mean, we already know working in a physical environment face to face has its own dynamics. It's just exacerbated remotely.
Mm. Mm. Mm.
And nobody really wants to feel isolated. You're already in
That's
another
right.
country, another whatever, and
Yeah.
you're not getting the information you need to
Yeah.
do what you need to do. You're like, what's going on? You know,
Mm.
talk.
Mm.
Now we are
Mm.
forced to talk. Now we are
Mm.
forced to communicate, be very clear,
Mm.
include people in whatever. You might think, oh, Nadege doesn't need to know, Corine doesn't need
Mm.
to know. No,
Mm.
include us, whether we need to know or not. I can make a contribution to that particular thing. Nadege can make a contribution. You watching and listening to this can make a contribution because
Yeah.
people make assumptions. What does
Yeah.
Nadege know
Mm.
about that? What does Corine know about? I
Mm.
could be like, you don't know what I know. Whether you want to
Absolutely.
admit that you don't know something, I could admit you don't know what I know that I could bring to the table and save the whole project a lot of problems.
Mm.
You
Yeah.
know, involve people. I think that is a critical thing. Don't make assumptions. Involve people.
Mm.
Don't make assumptions. Involve people. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness, Nadja, this has been a wonderful conversation. My apologies for going over time to all who's watching and listening. I know
Yeah.
Nadja is enjoying this, so am I.
Yes.
I really would love to have Nadege back on. Of course, I always welcome back my guests, to continue the conversation and even talk some other challenging, situations coming to communication,
Mm.
and especially in projects, especially in projects and project management. Um, what I want to say too is I want to thank my persons who are watching and listening on YouTube, LinkedIn, and on Facebook. I love you. I really appreciate the time that you take to spend here with me and Nadege. Feel free to share and, of course, comment. And if we missed your questions, if we missed talking about something that you have a challenge with, you can put your questions in the comments under the video and we will surely respond to you there. We would love to have your questions because it will challenge us, and if we don't know, we are not afraid to say we don't know, but we will get back to you on it. Thank you so much, Nadege, for being here all the way from France. I didn't say that. Did I say that? All the way from France. Yes. Thank you so much. Next time when you come on my show, you need to be at the Eiffel Tower, Nadege. You need to be
Oh
standing
gosh.
in front.
Oh gosh. I will need to prepare that. I'm quite far away from the Eiffel Tower.
Well, you have time between now and the next show to get to the to the Eiffel Tower because you need to be right there when you.
Would a virtual background with the picture
No,
of the
no,
Eiffel Tower,
no
would that
virtual
do?
background. No virtual background. This is the Eiffel Tower for real. So next time, that's the challenge for Nadege. If you agree with that challenge for Nadege, put it in the comments. Thank you so much, Nadege, and thank you for everyone who is watching and listening. All the best.
Thank you, Corinne.